might be apathetic about Biden, but they're going to go to the polls. And because these Senate candidates and these House candidates are more popular than Biden in their districts and in their states, that people will vote for them and then vote for Biden up ticket. So, that's the polling is saying that these individual candidates in House and Senate are polling much better than Biden. And so that is, they hope to pull Biden along.
What up? It's Three Brothers No Sense, your favorite barbershop style podcast. I'm Tavares Ferguson, aka Ferg, joined my co-host Buff and Rozzy. Fellas, missed y'all boys. Welcome back.
What's going on? First off, man, I know you guys had a huge storm down there. Rozzy added it at the beginning of our recycled episode. But how are you and your fam, man? How's everything going with you, man?
Man, the most important thing is that we're safe. You know, I'm starting to get to that point where in life, life be lifing. Mm-hmm. Right? I think we all can attest to that. But when you take a step back and you're grateful for, safety, health, and I can look and say, hey, all my loved ones are here. We're good. Everything else can be replaced. We're good. Outside of that, man, screw that storm, man. It was super crazy. It came out of nowhere. We're sitting on the couch. I mean, you guys have been around,
Mm-hmm.
We get tornado watches, hurricane warnings all the time. So you don't pay any attention. It came out of nowhere. It was raining. We got the warning and then all hell broke loose. The lights flickered once, kind of so fast. You're like, did the lights just kind of go out? You know how your lights flicker and they come back on? You don't even pay it. The clock didn't even reset. Right. Then it flickered again, went out for a sec, came back on. I was like, okay, this sucks. I hope the lights don't go out. And then them things went out and all hell broke loose. TJ started crying. Him and Sky ran downstairs. You thought the world was going to end. And
the internet went out.
But then, no, everything went. It was going on. Like it went from being like light outside to like pitch black. You couldn't see anything. It was, and then you just start hearing the wind. You start hearing stuff outside. And truth be told, shout out to Truth Be Told Sports. No pun intended. I haven't had a tornado drill since the 80s, bro. And so they don't, there's no refresher courses on how to handle a tornado. So all I remember is going a hallway. So initially we were on upstairs, and because the best hallway, there's no windows or anything, is upstairs. And then they shook the house again. The winds hit up to 120 miles an hour. Like one of the globes in my hallway fell off the thing, kind of pulled the thing down, and the globe in the room I'm in now fell. And upstairs, I'm like, you know what? Remember that upstairs is not the place. We ran downstairs, ran in the bath, the half bath, and we sat in there for like 10, 15 minutes until everything passed. But it was, man, I looked outside, the fence, everything was blown over in the backyard. I go out front and I just see something, a bunch of, I don't know what it was at first, scattered across the yard, across the street. I'm like, I wonder whose house that is. They went for it.
Oh, man.
And so I walk outside because all you see is shingles. There's a trampoline in the front, in my neighbor's front yard, trampoline pole stuck in their roof. It's another trampoline down the street. There's stuff all over it. There's not a trampoline left in Cyprus. And I still haven't noticed whose stuff it is. So I'm walking back to my house, and I see the side of my house, and there's probably this area, I would say is probably 8 foot by 12 foot area of just siding missing from the side of my house. And, the roof is gone. I mean, not gone, but like the roof has shingles all over the place. It's almost like, I don't know whose stuff is whose. Is that my shingle? Is that your trampoline? But it was pretty bad because it was the lights were out for most people from Thursday until I know the last person I heard got their lights turned on yesterday. So
Jeez, almost a week.
We got our lights turned back on Monday. It was just, it was just bad, man. It just came out of nowhere, scared the hell out of everybody. And I felt helpless because there was nothing I could do to protect my family. You know, I think that's the worst part of it, is when I know we're in the right place. All I can do is hold on, try to comfort people. But at the end of the day, if it's our turn, if this is it, this is it. You know, I can't, go, you know, would you rather be stuck in the woods? Would you rather go through a tornado or be stuck in the woods with a bear? You know, at least I can fight the bear and, you know, try to get my family to safety, you know, let my family run to safety. I can distract the bear. You can't distract the tornado. So, that's my story.
Man, me and Rozzy just glad you're good, man. Cause I remember seeing the headline that you guys had a storm, and then, you know how life is, you're just busy, and then it just hit me like, yo, Ferg, are you okay? So I'm glad you're good, man.
We didn't have power anyway or cell phone reception, so I didn't know who was calling, checking on me and anything. I was just trying to keep the family safe.
Yeah, man. But I am, and I believe you two guys are. I am excited about today's show. We just
super excited.
Completed an interview with a journalist from the Washington Post that we hope you guys will enjoy. We talk politics, and I think we got some great questions, man. So stick around for that. But I just want to say that Lonnie Billard, he is a former teacher at a North Carolina Catholic school, and an appeals court in North Carolina has ruled that it is okay for them to fire him for being gay. Now, they cited that it's because, so he's been teaching there for 10 years, and he decided to marry another man. And so what the school argued was, hey, we're not firing him because he's gay. We're firing him because his morals or ethics or whatever you say go against our policy. So he's violating our policies and what we stand for. And the Court of Appeals said, yeah, you're right. So apparently you still can't be, I don't care how the court spun it, you still can't be fired for being gay, because there's no way. I'm sure it's against their policy to lie. And had he just lied about someone one day, I don't think they would have fired him for that. So you can apparently be fired for being gay. We talked about the border crisis. That's one of the things that Biden has to deal with. Go ahead, Ferg.
It's similar to, let he without sin cast the first stone. But then when you talk about being gay, like that's where Christians draw the line.
Yeah.
Adultery, all that other stuff is okay. Hell, you can forgive a murderer.
I was just about to say it.
But don't bring that gay to the church.
Yeah, man.
So it's that same thing, right? It's can you say that? I said a bunch of wrong stuff in all one sense. But like that's how a lot of stuff is. It's like this is where we draw the line. So similar to reproductive rights, all lives mattered, all this stuff, yada, yada, yada. But then that's a whole nother conversation. Continue.
Dems, 3 brothers, we want you to fight harder. We want you to fight. We mentioned this in our conversation with Leanne Caldwell, but illegal border crossings are down 40% since last fall. They're down 40%. And this is without the immigration bill that they tried to pass that Republicans were for at first, and then they were against. It's down 40%.
Is this because of the wall?
Huh? No, it's not.
Is this because of the wall?
It's not because of the wall. But you won't hear that. You still going to hear the same amount of concern and worry over the border as you always have. And I just need the Dems to just start pointing out things that, hey, we're all working on it. It's still bad, but it actually has dropped. Just want you guys to get in the fight. And last but not least, man, the last thing I got is I think sometimes it's easy for us to forget the effect COVID had on our young people. Me and Tabitha was talking about it. And she told me that it actually was affecting Jasmine at one point. And she went to our goddaughter's graduation in Texas, and it was affecting her. Our cousin told her that they wound up getting her a dog just to help cheer her up. She was falling into depression. And I read that a group of Maryland University seniors that just graduated decided to throw themselves a high school prom because they were not able to have one when they graduated high school during college, and they said they didn't realize how much they needed that. Like COVID really took them to some tough places. And I think we as adults, I know for me, I got more time off from work. So it was great for me. It was great for some other adults probably. But for our kids, man, I think sometimes we overlook, the effect that it had on them. So
those milestone years and those milestone moments,
Yeah, like
I didn't think about that.
One of my greatest memories is graduation. You know what I mean? And some kids were literally denied that.
Or not even graduation. Think about your freshman year. Where would we have been if freshman year we didn't get to experience that? Mm-hmm. The clique, all these things that we just how we started hanging out. Would we be here today?
It's our origin story.
It's just, Speaking of origin story, now that you're talking about the Dems need to fight harder, I think we need to find a good montage for them to watch every day and just get that in their mind, like of just fighting hard. So just a training film or something where they can just get motivated and come out just swinging. Right. Team America might have a couple of good ones on there as well. So
that's all I got.
We're gonna start it.
Razi, what you got for us?
We're gonna start it with Jasmine Crockett, because we have a new alliteration. People, it used to be big bad bouncing whatever. Now it is bleach blonde bad built butch body. So we're gonna put a beat behind it. I think they already did that, but either way it goes, we're gonna start that montage with that because she went after Marjorie Taylor Greene, and she needed it because it was beautiful. It was beautiful how she did it. Because not only did she call her out, she called out the hypocrisy of the House and like what was going on in that committee. Go ahead, Buff. What were you saying?
I'd say with all due respect.
I was gonna say, have you guys seen my cousin Vinny? Have you seen that movie?
Yeah.
So there's a part in the movie where the judge is like confused of something that Joe Pesci says. He's like, what? That's how the chairman was. When she said, so if I call somebody a bleach blonde, bad built butch body, he said, what now?
They didn't train me. I don't get a training course on this. Like, how do you respond?
That was like one of the best. That and Jamie Raskin trying to hide his laugh because he immediately heard what she said, but it went over the chairman's head. He was like, what? My man, Ryan, I just had to ask that. Go ahead.
No, man, I love it though.
That's my
man.
montage. I'm with it, Razi.
We got to do it, man. We have to get better at calling out the hypocrisy and not letting it stand, not letting it fly. That mainly is what I wanted to talk about. A little bit about the International Criminal Court actually brought up charges on Israel and Hamas in Palestine for genocide that they're saying is not genocide, or Biden is saying it's not genocide, but it ultimately that's what it is. I get it, folks. I get that Hamas is bad. Okay, we just gotta. Like I said, man, I know Hamas is bad, but ultimately, how you win a war matters. I've said that multiple times. And so Israel, they're overstepping, man. And so International Criminal Court agrees, but it really doesn't matter because the United States and Israel both aren't a member of the International Criminal Court. So they put two middle fingers up in the air and said, we don't care. Y'all come try to take us. Y'all want to. So it really doesn't matter that the criminal court put out warrants for the arrest of Netanyahu and a bunch of high-ranking Israel officials, because ain't nobody gonna do nothing about it. The U.S. just said, who gonna check me, boo?
But that kind of goes to the question we talk about in the interview. Like, does it matter? And what makes Israel and the U.S. above the law?
What the
right
US,
is right, wrong is wrong.
Exactly.
I know they're not part of the...
What the U.S. says is that they don't want their soldiers being accountable to anybody outside of the United States. Kind of like we talked about in an interview with the Supreme Court, right? And them being able to have their own ethics laws and manage their own stuff. The U.S. says nobody outside of us is going to tell us what to do or hold us accountable. We'll do that for ourselves.
Okay. So we're just above the law. All right. Got it.
Yeah. At least that law.
So,
and finally, I just wanted to throw out there, now our guest is from Vegas, so hopefully you're listening, Leanne. And Vegas, your home state or city, has given the WNBA players, the Las Vegas Aces, $100,000 bonus piece because of the tourism that they bring in, is what they said. And so they gave them an extra $100,000. And guess who is investigating Las Vegas for that? The WNBA, because they jealous. And so the other teams are mad because Las Vegas like they girls or they ladies and want to get them $100,000. And so all the other cities like, we ain't got it like that, Vegas. So we ain't giving our folks nothing. So you can't do it either.
Tell your cities to get your weight up.
Right.
Get your weight up, yeah.
That's crazy. That's crazy. I understand how they can pose it. I don't agree with it, but I understand how they can say it's a problem. So,
yeah, I mean, when you think about it, that you're basically adding to your salary caps or adding to, that city can give more money than this city. So people are like, oh, I'm gonna go over there. And so you can't load balance and level your teams the right way if you're getting outside money. So I understand why the league is doing it, but it just sucks.
Yeah, well, I mean, because if you can look at it almost like an endorsement deal, that's one thing. But if they have, I guess, maybe 12 players on the team, if they did it for the starting 5, that'll be a little different because they're picking people based off their play, whatever. They're saying because you are a member of the Las Vegas Aces as a team, we are essentially increasing your salary as a team by $100,000. Mm-hmm. So that is the one that I think that's going to be the way they attack it, right? It's because you're benefiting from being solely a member from this team. You could ride the bench, and because you are a member of this team, the team is going to, you're benefiting from being a part of the team, not because of your individual play.
But like you talk about, endorsement. It's an endorsement. It's an endorsement. We are endorsing. We want to hire all y'all to endorse Las Vegas
because you're part of the team. So we're paying the team.
Yeah.
And endorsements, I think the problem is the endorsement is essentially for the team. That's how they're going to spin it. That's going to be their attack on it.
So the league should get a cut.
No, it's just the fact that if they said, okay, we're not going to do it for the team, we'll do it for individual players, I guarantee there wouldn't be a problem. That's no different than like Nike or whoever doing it. And plus it's coming from the city too. So my thing was to paraphrase the controversial rapper Mystical. Did he do it? Effing right he did it. Man, that tape that got released, what was that, this week or last week with Diddy?
Yeah.
And Cassie in the hotel?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And what is it? 50 Cent has already sold a movie about it, or a documentary about it.
Diabolical.
How you get it ready so fast? It was like
it's been ready. It's gonna come to light. It's gonna come to light. But that video where Diddy attacked, because I can't even say, he attacked Cassie. That was horrible. Mm-hmm. And I think it was similar. What was that, Ray Rice, where you hear it, but then when you see it, it's like,
yeah.
And it was just because you hear it, it's like, okay. And I'm not trying to downplay it. Did he slap her? Did he do this? But when you see like this dude club kicked her. Like I've seen dudes be stomped out of the club like that. Like this dude ran down the hall in his robe, not even a robe, a towel.
Yep.
To attack this chick.
So that leads me to what was happening in that bedroom, that he was naked like that she had to like run out like that. And he's coming after her.
I think he was in the shower.
Oh, I think he was in the shower. She made a run for it. Get in the shower and she made a run for it, and he was coming after her.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. Making me get out my shower, come chase you.
So, and no, man, the apology though. The apology was even worse. Like,
who he apologized to?
I don't think we should even call it an apology. It's not even really an apology for real.
That's what I'm saying. I don't call it an apology.
The admission, I guess. The admission and ask for forgiveness. So
that was me. Pretty much.
Yeah.
in the part that you might want to consider apology, he didn't apologize to Cassie.
He did.
He owe me.
That's what Cameron said.
He settled. He settled, but he didn't apologize. You know, people settle all the time just to end it. Doesn't mean a settlement is not a omission of guilt. It is just to move this along.
Yeah.
But it's just horrible. We're gonna see where this goes. You know, the same thing I say about any DV course case is I hope they get whatever is coming to them. Like I never defend DV. I think just seeing that video is just horrific, and along with all the other allegations he's been charged of, is just So with that being said, Rozzy, where's Sophie?
She is around the house somewhere. Let me go grab her and see.
Hello.
Hello.
Sophia.
Goddaddy Ferg.
Greetings.
Greetings.
How goes it?
Goes well.
Did you tell him you made the math team?
Oh yeah, I made the math team.
Math team, yeah. You say math team, you gotta do like jazz hands and like, I made the math team. Math team, yeah.
Math team.
Huge congratulations. Congratulations.
Yeah,
Now
congratulations on the math team.
Summer homework.
Yep, you have to do some homework. And you have to go to band camp. See, middle school, man. It's the
Who going to middle school?
serious. Sophie.
She thinks she's
going to sixth grade.
No, she's not going to middle school.
I do have a joke though.
I do have an answer.
Okay, this is actually very school related too. It's great. What's a snake's favorite subject? History. History. Yeah.
That was a pretty good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And also you set the mood by saying 6th grade and math stuff.
Yeah, it worked.
Because it's school.
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 Good setup. All right.
It's not school.
Okay.
It's school.
Yeah, yes.
School.
It isn't funny. I have to go to school.
Three Brothers No Sense, as we promised you guys several episodes ago. We told you we were going to try to have journalists on here, talk about politics as the election comes up. And we have our first guest. We're glad to have her. She is a journalist and anchor for the Washington Post. You can catch her on Sunday shows like Meet the Press, This Week with George Stephanopoulos, and sometimes even on Meet the Press Now in the middle of the week. Please welcome Leanne Caldwell. We want to thank you for coming on.
Three Brothers, thanks so much for having me.
Yes, we are very pleased. You got something first? You about to say something?
No, I just felt bad. I didn't listen to my morning. I start every morning with my 7 minutes with the Washington Post, and so I was like, now I feel special.
Oh, well, you know what? Actually, so I have a newsletter also. This is a personal plug for the Washington Post. It's called The Early Brief, and now you can listen to that one too.
Nice.
Okay. You got a subscriber.
There it is.
Yep. All right.
You have a subscriber.
I'll probably actually have you repeat that again towards the end to make sure the listeners get that. But I wanted to start you off. I saw where Senator Durbin and White House and many Democrats and some Republicans are a little bit upset at Justice Alito. There has been reportedly a second flag that's been flown at his house. A flag that has been carried by the January 6th rioters. And we know we want our Supreme Court justices to not show political favor to one side or the other. So him siding with people that, I guess attacked the Capitol has made a lot of people raise an eyebrow. And I saw that Durbin is calling for an ethics hearing. What's the most that can happen? Like, even if we haven't impeached a justice since 1805. So and this isn't even impeachable. So what's the most that they're hoping for with some type of ethics hearing? What do they want to see happen with Justice Alito?
Yeah, that's a great question. And also, Buff, it's probably super personal for you too, obviously. Yeah, you might have some experience with January 6th. So, the question that you asked about what's the most that can happen is the best question, because the answer is not a lot. It's just a lot of semantics, really. It's to try to show that they are trying to hold Justice Alito accountable. But the reality is that Congress can't do anything. The Supreme Court sets its own ethics, and Congress can scream and yell, and they can try to legislate Supreme Court ethics, but that's not going to happen. There's not enough, there's a divided Congress. They're not going to pass this. And so ultimately it's just to try to a political showing for Senator Durbin and Democrats to show their supporters and their voters that they are doing something about it. But ultimately, actually doing something about it is not really a thing.
And they can't even make him recuse himself either, right?
No. Yeah, that's up to the Supreme Court justices. They basically have full say over every single aspect of their lives and their jobs, and no one can say anything about it.
So, Leanne, I'm one of those people. I'm the spinoff person. I hear a good question, and I always have. My mind goes down a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
And when I hear Buff's question, it makes me think, even if they could do anything, is it worth it? I think we're in a political environment where anything and everything can be spun to a political attack. It's they're attacking us before political theater. It's like they're after me, and it's like, but you're the person that did this. So does it hurt the if they could do something, does it hurt them more going after this? Because we have certain people, every time something comes up, every time they're accused, they say it's a witch hunt. That is a new spin. Like, it doesn't matter what I did, it's a witch hunt. They're trying to hold me responsible. It's a political witch hunt. They're trying to derail the campaign. Does it even help the Democrats too? Is it even worth the time?
That's such a good question. And okay, so you asked that question about this scenario, but that was also a huge question about like the Trump trials and moving forward with prosecuting Donald Trump. Is it worth it? And that debate is actually still happening. Is it worth it? Some say that it just brings more momentum and motivation for Trump supporters. And the same thing with Justice Alito too. The two parties have gone into their respective corners, and the Democratic voters would be thrilled that Democrats are trying to hold Justice Alito accountable. Republican voters are going to come to Justice Alito's offense. And what I'm hearing is, that second flag, no one even knew what that was until this New York Times story came out, which might be true, except also maybe the people who really know the conspiracy theories are the ones that know about it. I mean, to be fair, Justice Alito has not taken responsibility. He is blaming his wife, at least for the first flag. He hasn't responded to the second flag yet. But there's always a political calculation. There's always a moral calculation. There's a legal calculation in what decisions are made. And Democrats, Senator Durbin is actually getting a ton of pressure from progressive and liberal voters to do something about it.
Speaking of Trump, he is the likely Republican nominee for president, and Biden is more than likely the nominee for the Dems. Now, every incumbent president, their party always has a few worries here and there leading up to the election. I know with Obama, they thought, maybe Obamacare hurt him a lot. With Bush, he had the Iraq war. So it isn't new that some Dems are worried about the Biden administration and his re-election efforts. But like privately, have any members of Congress just expressed like a worry that you haven't seen with previous administrations? Because Biden has like 3 big issues. He has a problem with the black vote. He has what's going on in Palestine and Gaza, and he has his age. So he can overcome 1, maybe even 2. But have any members expressed to you privately that, hey, I secretly think we may lose in November.
Yeah. So you mentioned 3 problems Biden has. Biden has 3 more problems. That's the economy, young voters, and also Hispanic voters too. So he has a lot of issues. And you asked if Democrats privately are worried. So yes, Democrats are always worried about losing elections. But let me talk to you about this specifically. So a year ago, there was so much worry. People didn't want Biden to win. There was a lot of angst. And then when it became clear that there was just no other candidate, no other, choices that were going to emerge, they started to kind of rally together and realize, look, we have to be unified in this. We have to do our best and we have to move forward. But yes, Democrats have rallied behind Biden, but there is a lot of trepidation privately about the election. And it's not just about Biden. It's also the Senate and the House as well. And so this is what Democrats say now is because usually what happens in politics is in a presidential year, the top of the ticket. So the person that's running for president for the Republican or Democrat carries all of the people down ballot. So if Barack Obama, he just did really well and carried Democrats up and down the ballot when he ran. Okay, so because right now what's happening, Biden is so low in the polls that House Democrats and Senate Democrats think that their personal popularity is actually going to help Biden. That people might be apathetic about Biden, but they're going to go to the polls. And because these Senate candidates and these House candidates are more popular than Biden in their districts and in their states, that people will vote for them and then vote for Biden up ticket. So that's the polling is saying that these individual candidates in House and Senate are polling much better than Biden. And so they hope to pull Biden along.
What are your thoughts on that? That's a great point. I didn't think about that, but also I would call the quote unquote split in the Republican Party in the GOP right now. You have your rhinos, and then you have your Trumpers. So they're going to potentially split some of that vote. And, does that help the Democrats as well?
It just depends on where the anti-Trump vote goes. What do they do? We know that Trump is super popular among those hardcore Trump voters, which is about 65% of the Republican Party. What does the other 25, 30, 35% do? Do they just hold their nose and vote for Trump because they don't like Biden? Do they stay home? Or do they actually vote for Biden? And that is the question. We saw Nikki Haley this week say that she is going to support Donald Trump after, completely attacking him in her campaign. And we know she doesn't like him, but we know that she also wants a future in the Republican Party. So she thinks that this is the best path for her moving forward. But the question is, what happens to her voters? Because even when she wasn't in the race, after she dropped out, she was still getting up to 20% of the vote in some of these Republican primaries in presidential states, as recently as this past week or the week before. So, the Biden team is slowly and carefully reaching out to some key core constituencies who voted for Nikki Haley, and we'll see if they actually vote for Biden. We just don't know yet.
Wow.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, yeah. I wanted to follow up on you talked about the economy, and that's one of the big issues that Biden is facing. But I want to broaden that just a little bit more and just talk about how there's been kind of this shift of focus from each party. So Republicans traditionally kind of talk about big business, the stock market and everything. And Democrats usually talk about what's in my pockets, right? The individual and everything. And now that the market is doing really, really well, and inflation or the economy is doing better, but inflation's not. And so the common person isn't really feeling that economy coming back. you've seen this shift of focus, and now the Republicans are talking about what's in my pocket and, the smaller things. And Biden is kind of talking about, oh, the economy is great, right? And so do you think that shift is making any difference or giving anybody leverage one way or the other?
So there has definitely been a shift in the parties ever since Trump kind of came on board, that there's like this populist movement in the Republican Party. That's why you see a lot of like labor or white blue collar workers who have really shifted towards Republicans and shifted toward Trump, which was a traditionally Democratic demographic.
Right.
So now in this election with the actual economy, so it's, every single operative expert in politics that I talk to says that this election is going to come down to the economy. People, as you laid out, are not feeling very economically secure, or if they are, they're fearful about what's going to happen because there's just a lot of uncertainty right now. There's a lot of good economic indicators. Job numbers are really low. Inflation is starting to stabilize. The stock market is really high, but still there's challenges. And I actually have a story coming out next week about housing and how housing is such an affordability and lack of housing is such a huge issue across the country. And that is actually one of the unspoken things of why people feel so economically insecure, because their rents are rising year to year. It's just harder and harder to keep up, to pay for anything if housing is getting more expensive. So Biden is trying to paint a picture of economy that has come back after the pandemic. The Biden administration has done a lot to get the economy here, but people just aren't feeling it. And then they have to deal with this issue of nostalgia where people kind of forget what happened during the Trump years. And they were like, oh, I remember being able to afford to go on that nice vacation. So it was obviously better then. And so you're not only dealing with like the economy, but you're also dealing with vibes, like how people are feeling now and how they forgot that or think that they felt when Trump was in office.
That stimulus check still.
Yeah.
People are still reminiscent.
Yeah. I mean, the Trump check,
Yeah. Trump got me paid. I've heard that several times.
Yeah.
That is so fascinating. Actually, I haven't thought about that in a while. I forgot about that until, wow. Yeah.
Leanne, when you mention vibes, it reminds me of my daughter. It's like, Biden gives me the ick or something like that. It's like trying to be cool.
Yeah.
It's a vibe. It's all a vibe.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I had one other question, and kind of getting a little bit off politics and more on just journalism in general. The rise of the podcast. You talked about, we'll be able to kind of start, subscribing to your podcast and being able to kind of talk through that and some of the other things, the newsletter that you have coming out. But do you see this shift of the difference in what a podcast is and kind of traditional media, and people are consuming more podcasts? Why do you think that is, that people are kind of starting to gravitate towards podcasts versus kind of traditional media?
It's a good question. I think that I think the phone, the way we consume information, has changed so much in large part because of our phones. People don't sit down to watch television nearly as much anymore. You don't get the newspaper delivered. A lot of people don't get the newspaper delivered to their front doors anymore. There's just so many ways to get news and information. It's not just even podcasts, but it's Instagram and TikTok and, social media. And there's this really interesting dynamic in journalism where institutional journalism organizations are really struggling, but the ones and the things that are, I guess, not only surviving but thriving are some of, like, individual podcasts or small niche media companies, individuals who have their own take and have their own TikTok brand. There's just so much more competition now. And at the Washington Post, you know, it's been widely reported that we had a very bad couple years, and there's a new publisher and trying to right the ship. But we'll see. It's just a really challenging dynamic and market for institutional journalism, which I'm still a huge believer in. We have editors and checks and, accountability and all sorts of things. So, we'll see. I hope it survives.
I am a champion of the physical newspaper. I tell them all the time. I love the physical newspapers. So.
We talk about him all the time. I can see him drinking his coffee and his newspaper and his one donut and all that stuff. I have a picture.
I love that.
I played this whole story. None of that could be true. He can be eating a kolache and I don't know, but in my mind, he's sitting there. This is what he does every morning.
I look forward to it every morning, Lee.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing.
That is my theory about it is just what you just did. For podcasts, don't have to have the editor check in and fact check in and everything else, right? They get to just say whatever and it could be the most off the wall thing, versus you have to go through and journalists really do need to make sure that what they're saying is true. If they're fact checking themselves, it may be a slant one way or the other, but it's still somewhat rooted in facts. Whereas a podcaster can get on and just say the most random off the wall thing, some conspiracy theory, and nobody's there to check them. Nobody's there to stop them. And so they get a lot of people just kind of following them when it's not true.
Conspiracy theories are so much more interesting than straight news, you know?
and it's all about entertainment too, right? We're in a world where we want to be entertained. And it kind of brings me to my question. Actually, I just erased it on accident, so hopefully I can remember it. So one of my favorite movies is Anchorman. And it just, because I love time period or movies that kind of give you like, this is 1974 and you get stuck in that moment. And it made me think growing up how respected the news was, the Tom Brokaws, the Dan Rathers, the Brian Gumbles. When you grew up, and I was 5, 6, 7, I don't know how old I was, but I remember these names and just knew these were important, trusted people in our world, right? And with the rise of, like Rozzy said, podcast and social media and certain political figures who have created this distrust, distrust in journalism and the news. What are people supposed to do now when there's like, hey, I don't know who to trust with this agenda-driven news? How do we navigate that world? How does true journalism, how does true news gain that trust back?
Yeah, it is like an age-old. We are trying to figure it out. I mean, a lot of it is on us. Is we need to have newsrooms that look like America, that are not only diverse in race and gender and ethnicity, but also in ideology too. So I think that's actually where newsrooms lack diversity, is ideology most. I mean, we lack diversity in like many ways, but ideology especially. So I think that matters, and that will help. We have to also continue though to write and report with standards and try to meet those standards every single time we put something out. Because if we are wrong, then it feeds into this narrative that we are gaslighting people or lying to people or whatever. And humans make mistakes. And so, if I make an error, it's never intentional. But it doesn't matter. Intent doesn't matter in this day and age. So we have to always be right. And then I think a lot of it is also incumbent on society and the people to also challenge themselves and to challenge their own beliefs. I think there's a shared responsibility to, yes, listening to all sorts of news is great, or all sorts of getting your news in all sorts of ways is great. But challenge your belief system. If you lean right, sometimes listen to something that leans left or whatever. Just be as well informed as possible rather than staying in our own silos. So we're all responsible, really, I think.
I promised to not keep you too long, so I wanted to get you out of here
We're good.
with a couple of more questions. So I was telling the brothers before you logged on that Trump will be 78 next month. So even if he wins or whatever like that, he's only around for so much. There is a window on how much longer he's around in politics. And we've seen the Republican Party take this shift towards him in attitude and everything and just really fall in line when it comes to him. When he's no longer a force to be reckoned with in politics, do we, and this is an unfair question to ask you because I'm asking you to kind of guess and predict, but do we expect the Republican Party to make that pivot back to what they once were? Or will they try to continue on MAGA without the MAGA leader?
So you are actually asking the question that the entire Republican Party is asking themselves. And there are different factions of the Republican Party who hope different things happen. And so you look and you have, for example, senators like J.D. Vance from Ohio, or, Mike Lee of Utah, who are hoping, or Josh Hawley of Missouri, who are hoping that the Trump wing of the party continues and that is the future of the Republican Party. But you, on the other side, you have the people like Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell and John Thune and, a lot of other guys who hope that the party swings back to a more traditional Republican, more of like Chamber of Commerce, Wall Street Republican, rather than this more populist entity. I do think it's going to be a combination of both. I don't think it's going to swing back to old school Republican. But most Republicans do say that there is not a figure like Trump in the wings, that Trump is an anomaly. He has an ability to draw a crowd and to draw a following like no one else that the Republican Party has seen in generations. And so it's going to be a really, really interesting post-Trump world in the Republican Party. And I will say that the end of the Trump Republican Party almost happened after January 6th. There were Republicans who very few Republicans wanted anything to do with him after that. But then, you have someone like Kevin McCarthy go down to Mar-a-Lago, take a picture with Trump 3 weeks later with their thumbs up in the air. And then the magnets started to come. So, I think that, and now he has a grip on the party again, but it will end at some point. We just don't know what it's going to look like next.
Yeah. So I asked you earlier about what Democrats tell you privately. So I have another question just like that. Bill Maher has been promoting his book and going around on different shows, pretty much saying how he wished Democrats would fight harder. Like he calls Merrick Garland a failure. He was like, it took him 4 years to bring these charges on Trump. If this was the other way around, Republicans would have been charged a Democratic president. And he criticized him picking a Republican to even lead the charge. It's like they always pick a Republican to do these type of investigations. We on this show have criticized the party for not, I guess, fighting tougher at times. Have any members of the party in the House, the Senate, political strategists, have they expressed any of that type of frustration with the party at large as well. They just kind of seem to, I don't know. I don't know the right word to use. They just don't seem to fight the way Republicans do.
They play, especially in this Trump era, right? Like it used to be, it's funny, like pre-Trump, Republicans, they always used to be like, we need to learn to fight like Democrats fight. Mm-hmm. And then now in this Trump era, he like changed the rules of how politics are played. There's not a lot of devotion to the truth. And staying within the confines of, just tradition in any way. And so he's like flipped the script on everything. And like Democrats are still playing within those rules. And I think part of it is personality. Like Joe Biden is very rarely going to say the scandalous things that Donald Trump says. Like he just wouldn't do that. But I think that is a big difference, that Donald Trump is not bound by any sort of, like obligation to ethics, really. I shouldn't say that, but it's like changed the dynamic of politics, right?
It makes me think, because I'm a novice when it comes to politics compared to Buff and Rozzy, but I will honestly say I feel like the political environment we're in is the most sophomoric environment we're like it's like kids, like it's kids, but. And I remember, my first lady saying when they go low, we go high, that's kind of the Democratic mindset. But I feel like some of these younger leaders the Democratic leaders are pushing back, because just not very long ago, we're in a, oh my God, it's like the comment that the bleached blonde, bad butch body, it's so young, but it's like we're fighting back. Like, it's like we're not going to always be that nice. Is that not the beginning, but is that kind of the temperature of some of these younger people in the Democratic Party saying, like, you know what, we're going to play this game with you. We're going to get in the mud with you. I don't know if that was just a one-off, but is that kind of where it's headed, where you're seeing some of these younger people say, you know what, I'm not my grandfather's Democrat. I'm not my mother's Democrat. Yeah. I'm going to play this game with you. If you want to go there, we're going to go there with you.
Yeah, there is definitely a little bit of that. Like you had Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez come in, kind of like blow the dome off the Capitol, essentially, with how she spoke and how direct and how dynamic and how kind of like no holds barred she was. And there she has a following of people who in Congress who have followed her, who have a lot of admiration for her and believe that that is the way that things need to be done. Absolutely. But they're still a minority. But also on the flip side of this, I will say that Democrats also think that their strategy so far has worked, because even though they might not win the media game, you look at elections since 2018, and they have essentially won pretty much every single election since 2018. They've done better than projected, and Trump has lost pretty much every election since his first one that he won in 2016. Past that, he is really a political loser. He might
that's true,
win again. We don't know, but and so so that's the flip side of it as well. And there's always going to be this tension within the party on how progressive to be, how centrist to be, how mainstream to be. And I will say, in a bunch of primaries and elections, Democratic elections this year, the more progressive candidates have actually not won. They have lost. The more kind of moderate centrist Democrats in primaries are the ones who have won. So also politics is on a pendulum, and it depends on the mood of the country. And there's always a reaction. And part of that is like people say that Trump won because it was the opposite of Barack Obama, right? It was a reaction to Barack Obama. Biden won because it wasn't Trump. So we'll see, not because people loved Biden. They just wanted the exact opposite of what Donald Trump was. And so there's always these tensions in the parties. But yeah, there are privately people who are frustrated with Democrats, that they should be more outspoken and more vocal. But I will say, just in the House, Democrats are in the minority right now, and it's a lot easier to be more united when you don't have power than kind of like the Republicans right now, who are a complete mess in the House. So we'll see 2024 is going to be super fascinating.
Yes, it is. So I just wanted to check with Rozzy and Ferg and see if they had anything else before I got you out here.
I always have questions, but I do want to respect your time, Leanne. I appreciate it.
Yeah, this was so fun.
You're always welcome back.
Please.
We can set this up when we get a little closer to the elections, or especially after. Well, that's going to be happening any day. The decision with that's probably forthcoming in the next couple of.
Yeah.
It was something we were waiting to happen, but I'm now scared to see the results.
I know. It's going to be so fascinating. And it's going to be like, either way,
this dude
you just don't know what's going to happen.
If that happens. So
this is like a fun question, but is there a bigger lie told in politics than someone saying, "Oh, we don't pay attention to polls"? Because I heard someone say that, and it's like,
yes.
Do you roll your eyes when a politician tells you that?
Yes. Oh my gosh, that is ridiculous. That's why it's like not printed in the papers very often, because that's not true. And that's actually like interesting as a journalistic question. Like, people tell you things all the time, and we have a choice what we can print, and like we know. Especially if you've been around a long time, when we're being spun. And absolutely, because they might not be paying attention to every poll, but they have a whole team of people who are then telling them what to do based on the polling.
That's your whole reason for being here.
Right, exactly.
That is your job.
Exactly.
She is Leanne Caldwell of the Washington Post. I wanted you to plug your podcast and where they can find your articles one last time.
Yeah, so it's a newsletter that you can it has like the AI thing that you can listen to, so it's not my voice.
Gotcha.
But it's so I have a newsletter that you can subscribe to called The Early Brief. And it's, if you just like Google The Early Brief Washington Post, it'll come up and you can subscribe. And it's lots of politics news Monday through Friday in your inbox at like 6 a.m.
So,
I'm on it.
Sounds good.
Amazing. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much, man.
And like Ferg said, open invitation anytime you want to come back.
Amazing.
Yeah, just hit Byron up and say, hey, next week I have a lot to talk about. So.
I will. I will.
Take care. See you around the Capitol.
Thanks, Byron. I'll see you next week. Thank you, guys. Good to meet you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Well, fellas, I mean, I felt like that was a great interview. I had a blast. Leanne, thank you once again. Byron, thank you for bringing her on. I appreciate it, man. Must be nice being you. That's a whole nother conversation.
Man,
let's go.
I'm glad y'all guys enjoyed it, man. And I want to echo what you said. Thank you, Leanne Caldwell, for coming on. I really appreciate it. No, you're busy, but we definitely enjoyed it, and we really mean it. Anytime you want to come back on, just let us know. And even if you don't want to come back on, we'll probably ask again anyway. So be looking out for that. But before we go, I just got... I always celebrate journalism, and we let Leanne Caldwell know that I read the physical newspaper. And one of the recent things that journalism revealed was that Wendy's and McDonald's have been culprits in hiring and violating child labor. They've been hiring 15 and 14-year-olds, and the Justice Department is making them corrected and punishing them. So it's not a huge story. I mean, I know some people that worked at 15 and it didn't violate any laws, but the fact that we still have journalism like finding out things, I really appreciate that. It's something that most people don't. Like we said, they just want to listen to podcasts and read headlines and keep going. So just want to always try to give a shout out to journalism. So I got that. And the last thing I have is old people are
they always have, always will.
The latest statistic shows that people from the ages of older than 55, they have a 600% increase from 2010 of gonorrhea, chlamydia. Mm-hmm. They have 4 times as much syphilis. Matter of fact, syphilis is actually 700% up. And that's due largely to, Levitra and what's the other one? Viagra. That's the one I really. Yeah, Viagra and not Levitra. Cialis and Viagra and all these other penis pills that are allowing us to
in menopause because they can't get pregnant, so they juicing.
Right. And while that's good, old people getting their freak on. The reason why doctors are hypothesizing that there are such increases is because you still have a lot of doctors that are not used to older people being this sexually active. So they're not even asking the questions of these people. And so they're just going around, and if they don't notice any symptoms, they're just going around carrying these diseases and passing it to another partner. In addition, older people are a little more embarrassed in even talking about that kind of thing. They're just hooking up. So like 65-year-olds are not asking, hey, have you been letting somebody blow your back out? But like they're not asking those type of questions. So
they don't
blow your back out.
So tell your grandparents, tell your aunties that they, just like they told us when we were younger, they need to start having these conversations. If they're gonna be screwing into their 70s, then you still have to strap up and be safe.
Yeah. Man, they talk like these assisted living areas and old folks homes be like college dorms, man.
Yeah.
Dudes be out there.
And along with that, a lot of them don't stock condoms in like their commissary or whatever. Like they can't get it. And then a lot of the kids don't anticipate that, so they're not even bringing condoms into the assisted living facilities. So again, just like you say, not just have the conversation, but you need to bring your mom and dad some condoms. Like, hey, y'all gotta use these.
Slip them in your care bag.
So look out for our older people, man. Look out for them. You know what? You don't even have to ask. I know you don't want to ask. Granddad. Just like Roger said, just take him a pack of Trojans, a pack of Lifestyles, whatever it may be. Just say, hey, Granddad. Yeah. When wow. We're gonna let.
Oh God.
That's when you have that much money in your pocket. You gonna get the cheap.
This is. We've been talking about maybe 2 minutes. Even about 2 minutes. This is 2 minutes longer than I ever wanted to talk about elderly sex lives.
I'm just saying, old people are getting it in. That's all. That's it. That's all I got. Though.
Hey man, it's gonna be even worse. You got to think this generation when they get old, it's gonna be even worse.
Yeah.
What you got for us, Razi? How do you compete with that?
I don't know, man. Good news. The Blackening. I don't know if you guys remember the movie The Blackening. Hilarious. If you have not seen it, go check that out. It is a slasher / horror movie about black people and how they react to a serial killer or a killer. Great movie. But it was so well received that it's getting a sequel. So super excited about that. So as soon as that comes out, we will be in the theater. Sophie loves The Blackening. She's watched it like 4 different times. It is rated R and she shouldn't be watching it, but again, like with listening to all the beef, don't judge me. So that and
who else do we judge? You gotta judge somebody, Razi. This is 2024. The judgment has to go somewhere, and I choose to judge you. Love you, but I judge you.
Yeah. That and I want to shout my kids out, man, because we were during before we started recording, we were talking about the Literacy Act here in Alabama and how if your child isn't reading on a 3rd grade level at the end of the 3rd grade, they test them and they force them to actually be retained. I want to shout out Birmingham City Schools, the school that I'm on, School Board Legacy Prep, as well as Deer Valley or the Hoover system that my kids are in. All of them did really, really well. Most had reached the cutoff, so we didn't have to mandatory retain a lot of kids in those areas. So kudos to you guys on that. And kudos to Ollie. He had to take it. He was super nervous. He literally cried the Sunday night before the test. He was just like, I'm so nervous. And so he passed. He's good. He's moving on to the 4th grade. So he was like, that's a weight off his shoulders. He was super nervous about that. And so good job. And to celebrate, we taught the kids how to play spades. So now my kids know how to play spades. And so we be in here, hitting it on. We got the table going, everything. And so again, parents, teach your kids how to play spades. We got to keep that alive. So that's all I got, man.
Byron used to be my long-term spades partner.
Yes, sir. Phillips.
Yeah, bro. I think we held the record, bro. Our win streak was, yeah. Teach your kids how to play spades. I never thought about that. We're behind the ball, but a couple of things. Shout out to our homeboy Sherman Cooley. For I don't know if I knew this or he reminded me that Smooth Criminal was a song about domestic violence. We kind of hit on that earlier. So, I forgot that Mike was that deep sometimes. He talked about like Man in the Mirror, all these things. He made some deep songs. My only question is, if it was about domestic violence, how did we get to that lean? How did we get this song that talks about DV, and then we get us the one of the best dance videos of all time with this lean that appeared to be magic? How do we go from that to that? And was I the only person that thought Annie was a little girl? I just assumed Annie was a girl in the video. Yeah, in the movie.
Yeah,
I'm just like, how do we get all the way? That was like the highlight of the whole Moonwalker movie video, whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
But it was really about domestic violence.
Man,
that's crazy.
Folks, they were much better at hiding the true intent behind stuff.
Oh yeah, when I saw that, it made me think of like so many different songs. Hell, Puff the Magic Dragon, all kind of stuff. But that's a whole nother conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But so Mike, that takes talent to take something so crazy and turn it into one of the best videos of our time.
Yeah, coming off of the number 2 best album of the history,
according to Apple Music. Yeah.
Yeah. So, want to say congratulations first to all the graduating seniors. Yes. Both high school, middle school, anything, elementary, moving on to that next level. We had a lot of colleges graduate by now, but congratulations. Even special congratulations to my son, TJ, my mini-me. He had his pre-K graduation yesterday. Today is Friday the 24th, May 24th. And people take that stuff seriously. It was a thing. It was a thing. I got to remember to celebrate better, but people take that stuff so seriously. Also, shout out to my young man. Today is his birthday. He's 5 years old. And I'm just so happy that he's here and just so proud of him. He's just becoming a great young man and a little boy, whatever you want to call him. I don't call him young man. I don't make him be responsible too soon. But, congratulations to all the graduates, my pre-K graduate and my birthday boy, who's the epitome of a Gemini. Daddy loves you. I'm proud of you. Keep doing what you do. Just slow down a little bit. And with that being said, Three Brothers No Sense, your favorite barbershop style podcast. Thank you for tuning in. 6 Rules of Podcast. Listen, like, share, subscribe, comment, and most importantly, listen again. Talk to you next week.